This is going to be a different kind of video. I'm going to be talking about what's been going on with me health-wise, tumor-wise, surgery-wise. I know I've mentioned different things in previous videos, and now I think I got like a fair bit of information. I'll have to make updates later and stuff like that probably, but this is just gonna be like a synopsis of everything that's been going on. So to start off with, I had two sizable tumors in my boobs. I had sorry, saying breasts sounds so like professional and like adult, and I just don't. Anyway, in my titties, there was one in this one, like right here, and it was about that big. It's like 6 by 8 centimeters, they said. And there was one that was like 6 by 2 or 6 by 3 down here, like that. And I had them for a while. The first time I got one in the was in this one, and it was like way deeper in, closer to my ribs, and it was like little, pretty little. I got that whenever I was like 16, and I was real freaked out about it because my mother's mother, my grandmother, died of breast cancer like pretty young. She got it pretty young, she died of it pretty young. And my mom's sister, so same side of the family, she got breast cancer in her like 40s or 50s, and which is young, and she's in remission now, but she tested positive for the BRCA gene, which is a gene mutation. I know at least the one type can make you it gives you like an 85% chance of developing breast cancer by the time that you're 80 years old or 70 years old or something like that. It's crazy, those odds. So you're way more likely to get it than not get it over the course of your lifetime if you have that gene mutation, because it's a gene that we have as humans to prevent breast cancer, but it's messed up, so it doesn't work how it's supposed to. So anyway, my aunt has it, so if my mom has it, I have a 50% chance of having it too. But my mom won't get tested for it because she's a conspiracy theorist, and she's afraid that if she goes to the doctor, they're gonna make something up, and then she's gonna have to like get a bunch of unnecessary treatments. But anyway, so when I found the little tumor whenever I was 16, I was really freaked out about it. I told my mom I was afraid that I had breast cancer or something, and we didn't have like really good insurance at the time, and my mom was just like, oh, it's probably no big deal, like we're not even gonna worry about it. So I pressured her, kind of like I kept pushing the issue. Eventually I got to go to the gyno and mentioned it, and then they're like, well, you should definitely get it biopsied because of your strong family history of breast cancer and stuff like that. But my mom's like, no, that's too expensive. So I didn't end up getting it biopsied, and I was super like freaked out about that little tumor. Like, it kept me up at night. I was freaked out about it until I was after college. I think it went away on its own, so that was cool. And so I had like a year or two where I didn't really feel it anymore, and it didn't really bother me. And then like out of nowhere, I had this big like Walmart not Walmart size, that would be insane, walnut sized one here, and that really freaked me out. I was like, I definitely have cancer, because during research they're like, oh, if it doesn't move around in your boob, and if it it's like painless and it's like really hard, that's like a bad sign. So I was like, oh my goodness. So I was like losing it, like mentally, like on the verge of crying for like a few days. And you guys know, if you've been watching me for a while, that I have like anxiety issues and panic disorder and stuff like that. So it just wasn't fun. That time, my mom was like, okay, like I guess you can go get a biopsy. So that time I got a biopsy, and they were able to feel like the little one that was deep in there too, and they biopsied that one too. And those came back as benign fibroadenomas, which 10% of women get fibroadenomas. Usually teens to 30s is the most common. And they rarely get bigger than a marble, so overachiever. And they're like, but it's like, that one's pretty big, so they're like, you should probably get it removed. And I was still on my parents' really crappy insurance at the time, and my mom was like, no, you're not getting that removed. So I just kind of waited, and then I moved to Florida, and the one here was just getting like bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I started to feel something down here. At the time when I first felt it, it was probably like that, and it grew and grew and grew over the past 3 years of me being in Florida. But I got my own health insurance, which, yay, so I could actually take care of myself. But so sorry, I think like a year and a half, 2 years ago, I started like really pursuing figuring out what's going on with those tumors. So I went to a couple gynos, and they were like, okay, yeah, those are getting pretty big, we'll do an ultrasound of them and everything. They did an ultrasound, and then I had to like really try hard to get my medical records from back home, and everybody was giving me a really hard time. Nobody knew what the heck they were doing, so it took forever for me to get my medical records so that anybody would even like go further with treating me and giving me testing and all this stuff, because I needed all my old records, even though this new tumor didn't have any records on it anyway, and this one had completely gotten bigger, so I don't know why they couldn't just biopsy them again. So that took forever. That took a lot more months. And by the end of last year, I got a mammogram on these things, and that was really weird. It's like some random lady like taking your boobs and squishing them in this robot machine 7 ways from Sunday, and it was like painful and really weird. So that happened, and then that happened at the end of last year. So then my insurance had to renew, my deductible, you know, my max out of pocket was like refreshed, so none of the money I already put into it counted toward this year's events. But yeah, after the ultrasound and the mammogram, then they were finally able to biopsy me again. And oh, side note, whenever they biopsied the little tumor and the big tumor on this side, back home in Pennsylvania, where everything is like from the dark ages, like the technology is not caught up with anything, they didn't use an ultrasound to guide where they were putting like the whole punch needle thing. So they take like a little scalpel, and they cut a little hole. Well, they numb the area first. They inject you with like numbing stuff, then they cut a little hole with the scalpel, and then they take a core needle biopsy. So it's a hollow needle, and they like punch it into the tumor, and it's like hard to do by feel. But they didn't use an ultrasound to guide it. And the people that did the biopsy in Florida on the 2 big tumors, they were shocked that they didn't use any kind of visual to like get to where the tumors were. And they let some intern chick practice on me, and they didn't like give me the option not to let her practice on me, and she ended up taking like way more samples than she needed to, which was really annoying because it's my already slightly smaller boob. And I was like, come on, can't win. So anyway, The next time they did the ultrasound guided biopsies, and they took a bunch of chunks out of both of these, and then they put these little metal marker things inside of them, so it was just easier if I ever needed to get like future imaging on them, I guess, for them to see everything that was going on. So after that happened, I went to another gyno appointment after all that, and they're like, oh, those little slivers that we took out came back as benign fibroadenomas, like the thing that I was diagnosed with before, and it's fine, you just watch them or whatever. And then I was like, but they're enormous. And I had to like really push. And then because here's the other thing, if they take out a chunk of a fibroadenoma and it comes back as a fibroadenoma, it doesn't mean that the whole tumor is just fibroadenoma. It's better if they take out the whole thing and they cut it in tiny little pieces and put it under microscopes so they can make sure there's no cancer in the whole thing, because the core needle biopsy is only testing like a tiny little part of it. So after I told the gyno, like, no, like, they're actually enormous and I should probably get them removed, she looked at my chart and she was like, oh my gosh. She's like, I'm so sorry for not looking at your chart, like, those are huge, those need to come out, like, why didn't they come out sooner? Because fibroadenomas, even if they're diagnosed like benign so far that we know, I'm repeating myself, they still want to take it out so they can test the entire tumor and make sure that there's no cancer in it. And also they get big, they push breast tissue around, it's just not good. And then when they get that big, they tend to get bigger and bigger until they're like growing out of your body, and it's all obnoxious. But then I got referred to a breast surgeon, and the breast surgeon was like, holy crap, those things are huge, like some of the biggest ones I've ever seen. Because, okay, fibroadenomas are considered giant fibroadenomas if they're over 4 centimeters, and mine were way over that. So anyway, I was like, dude, like, I'm really nervous that I'm gonna look deformed and have like big giant like indents and stuff in my boobs, and it's gonna be like embarrassing when I go to the beach and stuff. And she's like, it'll be fine. But my breast surgeon freaked me out because she was like really like smiley. She was one of those really smiley, she seemed kind of fake, and anytime anybody was like talking about her or I mentioned who my surgeon was, like in the medical field, like any of the nurses, they're like, oh, she's so nice, she's so incredible. And I'm like, are we talking about the same person? Because she seems fake nice and like kind of creepy. I don't know, maybe that was just me. But so I didn't trust her really a bit. I was really nervous, but I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna get it over with. I'm gonna get these things out, and I'm gonna get these things biopsied once and for all, fully. And I get there for my appointment. My surgery was at 5 in the morning, which was, oh, hold on, sorry, I wanted to pause that because I saw the mailman coming, but then he mysteriously disappeared, which I hope that he comes back because I have a package out there that I would love for him to ship for me. So where was I? Surgery was at like 5 in the morning. Okay, so I get there super nervous, and nervous about the anesthesia, dying and not waking up, nervous about how crazy my breastises were gonna look afterwards, nervous about having cancer, nervous about a lot of stuff. I waited for like, I got there at 5 a.m. and my surgeon didn't come in to talk to me until 8:30, and then I didn't end up getting surgery until like 11, and then I didn't end up going home until like 2 p.m., which was surprising because they usually call fibroadenoma surgery like a drive-by surgery. It's usually like pretty quick, but I guess because I had like big old ones with like a lot of veins and stuff around them, it took a little bit longer. But anyway, right before the surgery, sorry I'm backtracking, when the surgeon came in, I was like, hey, there's this mole on the bottom of this boob, and since you're already gonna be all up in there, would you mind just like cutting it off for me? It's annoying because sometimes whenever I'm like changing or my bra or whatever, I'll accidentally scratch it with my nail, and then it'll like, one time I completely scratched it off and it bled everywhere and it grew back. And she was like, oh yeah, I'll just like make like a little addendum in the thing that I'm gonna excise the mole too, which was good. And the only reason I got the idea for that was because when I was researching on Reddit prior about fibroadenoma surgery, someone mentioned that they had an annoying mole on their boob and the doctor just like went ahead and cut it off for them. And I was like, that's convenient because that mole's kind of annoying anyway. It's not like a huge deal, but it's not my favorite. So she's like, yeah, no problem. So she cuts out my tumors. She cuts off, I thought she was gonna shave off the mole, but she ended up like cutting the margins around it and underneath it. I guess that's standard procedure if you don't want a mole to grow back, kind of thing. So she did that. I got home that night, and well, that afternoon, and I was like, still, I wasn't like loopy, but I was very optimistic from whatever drugs they gave me during the chemo. Not the chemo, full Freudian slip. I'm so bored, stuck on this couch with ice packs, sitting at a 30-degree angle, hopped up on IV medication, but I'm not allowed to do anything. The anesthesia, and I was just like in a good mood. I felt groggy, but I wasn't in a lot of pain yet. They put me in this crazy like Velcro bra surgery thing, and they put stitches in me, and they put like tape over the stitches, which originally I thought it was just tape. Very naive. No, there were stitches. There were stitches inside my body too, for the tissue that she like moved around and stitched together. But yeah, I felt pretty good. In Florida, the painkiller regulations are pretty stringent because I guess we have like a lot of drug addicts here. I mean, everybody knows that about Florida, or it's assumed. So they only can give you 5 Tylenol oxycodons for like a whole major surgery event, which is wild. But I was like, oh, it's no big deal, it'll be fine. I didn't take anything until that night. Like late at night, I started to be in a lot more pain, and holy Moses. Sorry, I want to swear, but I'm not gonna swear because of YouTube. Anyway, holy Moses, the next morning was horrible. Like my ribs, I guess because the one tumor was pretty close to my ribs, like my ribs hurt. It hurt to like cough or sneeze or talk or breathe, and I was like dizzy. I was in so much pain, and I called and I'm like, oh, another side note, Tylenol makes me very dizzy and nauseous, and I told them that, but they prescribed me a painkiller with Tylenol in it anyway, because I guess in Florida they really never give you the good stuff, even when you have like no history of drug abuse, which is kind of annoying. So I had to call like the emergency line because it was the 4th of July the next day, and the doctor's office was closed, which, why are you scheduling surgeries the day before when your office is going to be closed? Like, what if something goes wrong? So I had to call like an answering service, and then they got a hold of my surgeon on her day off, and she called back and she's like, oh, I can prescribe you like this really good anti-inflammatory. And I was like, okay, whatever. And that did help, and I ended up taking the Tylenol oxycodone anyway, even though it made me dizzy, and just dealing with the dizzy nauseousness because I was in a lot of pain. So those 2 days were like really painful. And day 3, so my surgery was on Monday. Wednesday there was I woke up that morning in like so much pain. I had like a lot of stomach pain, and chest pain, breast pain, all the pain. I was just like miserable and shaking and couldn't get back to sleep. So it was like a really rough night, day, morning, really rough. And I went to the couch and I put on some TV, quiet. We ended up having like a big thunderstorm, and it was pouring outside, lots of like lightning and thundering, and I was like, okay, this is like relaxing, like rain is relaxing. I like ASMR. Rain is a type of ASMR. I was like, this is cool. I'm just about to doze off after being like exhausted and so much pain on the couch, and then there's this giant like pow, crash of thunder, and I heard something pop in the kitchen, so I jumped up, which hurt, and I went and looked in the kitchen, and my oven was on fire. So I was all like dazed and confused, and I went to go get like a fire extinguisher, and then I couldn't remember, like I didn't remember how you're supposed to pull a tab. I'm also not supposed to be like lifting or pulling anything because of my incisions. So I'm like, what do I do? So I turned off the breaker, and then the oven stopped being on fire, which was good. So then I called my boss's husband, because I don't have like family here or anything like that, and he just so happens that he was about to fall asleep too, so I feel bad. And but he knows that my surgery just happened. Like, my boss is the one that drove me to surgery and everything, and I was taking off of work for recovery, and he's like, okay, I'll be right over. And by the time he came over, like, I already like looked inside the oven and found that my bake element had like snapped in half and caught on fire from the lightning strike or the surge. And he's like, yep, so he made sure like that only that breaker was off and that all my other switches were working. And then he's like, don't use your oven anymore, order a new bake element, and when you get it, I'll come back and install it for you. That still hasn't happened, but I did get the new bake element in the mail. So, and he's also gonna install like a little $5 lightning arrestor somewhere on my home, which should apparently prevent that in the future, hopefully. So then after that happened, he left. I noticed that my modem, like my Wi-Fi, wasn't working anymore, which was a big bummer because I don't have cable or anything, and I'm supposed to be recovering, and I can't rest or relax without like background noise. It's one of my crutches. So then I called my internet provider, Spectrum, and I was like, hey, what's going on? There's no outages. So they sent somebody out like a couple hours later, which was actually really nice, and the guy said that the surge sorry, my throat from being sick. The surge fried my modem, so he brought a new modem, and he said it actually also fried like the wire that was going to the pole outside, so he had to fix that. He put it on like a new connection or something, and he gave me a new modem. So after that, I noticed that my I have several camera systems. One of my camera systems was also not working anymore, and at first I was like, maybe it's just the AC adapter. Oh, look, a squirrel. Sorry that I'm going off on this tangent, but I just want you guys to know how miserable all this was. Thought maybe it was the AC adapter, which is like a $40 part. Got the AC adapter. The new one lit up, but the power light, like only the red light in the back of my NVR camera system would turn on, but the power light wouldn't, and the LAN port wouldn't light up. So I had to order a whole new NVR because apparently the surge also fried my camera system, and that's like a $200 replacement, so that's cool. So after I figured out that that fried, I went to use my water the next time, and my water was dark orange, and I was like, oh no. Keep in mind, this whole time, like, I'm exhausted and in a lot of pain. I'm supposed to be like relaxing. But anyway, I was like, oh no, because my house has old galvanized pipes, and I was like, oh, the lightning probably took it out, and I'm gonna have to replace all of it. It's gonna be like $15,000, and I was like really freaked out about that. And then I called the water company, and they were like, the vibration from the lightning strike probably just shook loose a pocket of iron, and it'll get better. And it did get better, so thankfully that's really good news. So yeah, after all of that fiasco, a couple weeks pass, and I'm feeling like a little bit better. After like a week, almost better. I had a lot of residual nausea and malaise after the surgery, and my period was also like, it like pushed my period like 2 weeks further, because I guess trauma and anesthesia can both like mess with your menstrual cycle, so it did that too. But after I'm starting to feel like a little bit back to normal, I have my follow-up appointment where she's gonna like take the tape off and like check on the stitches and everything. So I have one big issue, and I'll be inserting pictures as we go, like trying to keep them as not revealing as possible. And then the one incision was like right there. They couldn't go around my nipples like they usually do to hide the scars, just because of the size and the location of the tumors. But anywho, she's like, yeah, okay, so we sent everything out to the lab, and she's like, your tumors came back as 100% fibroadenomas, and you don't have any cancer in the tumors, which is good news. But I do, I'm waiting on a call for the people that do the BRCA gene testing to see if I have the BRCA gene, which gives you that super high chance of getting breast cancer. Like, I already know that I'm tumor prone. I was born with a tumor around my eye that I got removed whenever I was 20, and then I got really big tumors in my boobs, so they'll probably recommend, if I'm positive for the BRCA genes, to just completely do a double mastectomy and cut my boobs off, or just get like really frequent checks, sometimes hormone therapy. All of that is scary. I don't want to deal with any of that, but I'm gonna get tested sometime soon. I'll keep you guys updated with that. But anyway, but then she's like, but funnily enough, that mole that I cut off, like, they send all moles out to get biopsied when they cut them off. It's just standard practice. But the mole was like dark brown, raised, clear edges, like very normal looking mole. And I'm not a moley person. I don't really have moles. It was like my only mole. And it was just annoying. And she's like, yeah, I thought it was like a totally normal mole too, but we sent it to the lab and that came back as skin cancer. So they're like, we wanna cut you open even more. So I'm gonna refer you to the dermatologist, which is conveniently right upstairs, and then you can make an appointment to get that looked at and then get more chunks cut out of you, because since we already cut out so much and your biopsy results came back that there were still some cancer cells in there, we gotta send you back to get even more cut out on your already slightly smaller boob. Like, can I get a break? Can I get a break? I have no family history of breast cancer, and apparently my age is sort of young to get skin cancer. And I also grew up in Pennsylvania, where it's not very sunny and it's on my boob. Usually these are on people's faces, which gets sun, but I do wear sunscreen on my face and my chest every day, like upper chest, and I have been for years, but just got lucky, I guess. Again, tumor prone apparently. So I go to the dermatologist and they're like, we want to cut like this much. So they cut like a sliver that was like that big. Now they want to cut like one that's like that big with all the tissue in and around it. And no thank you. So currently I am opting for, I'm gonna try topical chemo, and she's gonna check in a month if that's helping. It burns your skin and scabs and crusts and gets all like bleh. But I'm gonna try that first because I really just don't feel like going under the knife again anytime soon. I am over it. Topical chemo is less effective, but it's still pretty effective. It's like 84%, while further excision is like 98%. But 84, you know, I'm taking my chances because judge me all you want, but I'm tired. I'm just tired of dealing with all of this. Like, I thought I was gonna get my boob tumors removed after all these years of me loathing them and then just be like have some peace. And I haven't had that. So she's starting me on a topical steroid cream for 2 weeks, which is weird. I couldn't find any info about that online. I guess to like prep the skin so it doesn't react as badly to the chemo. So I started that last night, and then after those 2 weeks I'm gonna be on the topical chemo for 2 weeks, which I also thought was weird because the standard treatment for topical chemo is 6 to 12, but maybe it's just that she can check if it's working and then go from there. Hopefully. I don't really trust these people. I don't like this hospital doctor's office is full of like fake seeming valley girls, and I have high school trauma and I am not about that life. But anyway, I can kind of show you. This is where, that's where they took out the skin cancer, and then this is another suspicious spot that they went ahead and like burned off just in case. So that is where we're currently at. I'm sorry that the video was all over the place. Oh, also, as far as like the scarring and stuff so far from the tumors, I have I'm using Scar Away, but because this one looks like an implant scar, which everybody's gonna think I have one implant, which is weird. Like when I go to the beach, you know, I don't know. Really want that scar to go away. The one up here looks kind of cool. It's kind of cool, but it's healing really nicely, unfortunately. So this one maybe looks a little bit less full without a bra at the time being, and then this one is like flat. Like if I don't have a bra on, this boob is like more rounded underneath it, and this one is like a shelf because of where she took the tumor out and sewed the tissue back together. So and you can feel like scar tissue inside, but at my next appointment with the boob people, they're gonna teach me like massages to like break up some of the scar tissue and hopefully get them back to looking as normal as possible. But yep, I guess if you guys have any questions, if you're on my Patreon, you can send me messages on there. I usually answer them, not like right away, but I will answer them like eventually. And if you comment on here, I read the comments, but I don't really respond to YouTube comments because I feel bad if I don't respond to everyone, and then someone's gonna get mad at me, and I'm just paranoid about that. But yeah, I hopefully will have inserted as many pictures and clips and stuff as I can so you guys can get a better idea of what's going on. If anybody watching this is going through something similar, hopefully we're able to gather some helpful information from this, and know that you're not alone and stuff like that, all that cheesy mushy stuff. And if you are going through something like this and you're not on my Patreon, can you message people on YouTube? I don't know, email me my business email. I'll put it in the description. Email me And yeah, if you have any questions specifically pertaining to you going through something like this, I will try to get back to you, because I know that whenever I was like researching, it was really hard to find info. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. I hope that was informative. Like I said before, the PayPal donations and the Patreon support really mean the world to me at all times, but they especially mean the world to me now because expenses from this have been through the roof. But also just kind words and good vibes. Manifesting good outcomes is really appreciated as well. And I always do a question of the day. So my question of the day will be, have you ever used a tanning bed? Because I forgot to mention this. They said that the reason I got the skin cancer in a weird spot, and I have like no risk factors for it, is because my mom used to take me tanning with her starting whenever I was 12. We'd only go once a year, and now I think it's illegal for children that young to go tanning. But she took me tanning because she wanted to go tanning, and she didn't want to go alone. She thought it would be more fun with the buddy. So thanks, Mom. Anyway, have any of you guys ever been to a tanning bed? Let me know. Probably don't do it, I would say. I mean, they have like that self-tanner stuff that you can rub on, and you know, I know that like stains your clothes, but I think if you put it on and let it like dry, it's good, because you know, now once you have skin cancer once, you have a 25% chance of getting it again in the next 5 years, I think. So I'm gonna have to wear sunscreen on the rest of my body for the rest of my life, every day. And I live in Florida, near the beach. So I'm gonna start wearing burqa to the beach. That's no fun. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Hey, this is my current list of wonderful patrons. Thank you guys all so much for your support. One thing that I forgot to mention in the video that you just watched is that while the topical chemo isn't going to make me lose my hair or anything crazy like that, hopefully, probably won't, but it can give me flu-like symptoms. If I forgot to mention that, I don't know. So bear with me, because I don't know how long all of that nonsense is going to last, but I will definitely try to keep getting my uploads up as usual. Thank you guys so much again. Mwah.